Chapter 1, Colored Property and White Backlash, written by David Frond, explains how, even in post-war America, society and living arrangements were determined predominantly by race. Frond's piece is used to establish the role played by African Americans in post-war society and how they were given restrictions on where they could own property. It is specifically stated that whites' intolerance of minorities in post-war America has been driven by class conflict and the desire to protect property value. This chapter illustrates the little value placed on African Americans and how white privilege was used as an excuse for discrimination and the formation of racial and social constructs. Chapter 2, Backlash, written by Charles Mill, works to establish the racial contract seen in our government. Mills defines racial contract as a contract that makes explicit that the actual body politic is that of white body, and the political relations of racial domination are made incarnate in human form and its extended flesh. This lack of color seen in our political body only leads our nation to believe that whites are the most valuable race and should be held with the highest regard, none of which is accurate. In this reading, Mills makes it clear that there is a racial contract characterized by the political domination of whites versus non-whites. Chapter 3 is Racial Profiling Just? Making Criminal Policy in the Original Position, written by Jeffrey Raymond, uses the concept of expressive harm to highlight how the practices of racial profiling are often unjust. Throughout this chapter, Raymond uses the idea of racial profiling to emphasize how African Americans are constantly being demoralized, even through law practices. This idea makes the idea of white supremacy prevalent. Chapter 5 speaks about how guilt and shame are often used interchangeably, though should not be. We as a nation do not seem to feel shame when it comes to the treatment of certain racial groups, specifically African Americans, although we really should. If we begin to enforce a different set of standards and intrinsic morals when it comes to developing societies, we can begin to eliminate discrimination. If we develop a set of standards that underemphasizes the importance of race and makes it so we don't see a difference between any racial groups, we can begin to consider the abilities of everyone as equal.